discuss this and what the challenges that we've been occurring over the past 1.5 years and what we have found with the different technologies of helping us across them over the past year. So on the call with me, I have Nazir Ahmed. He's been in the industry for 20 years. He's been a solutions architect in various different roles at vendors and a wealth of expertise. I've got Ryan Sampson on the call with me today, and he's one of our cloud specialists as well as one of our storage specialists, also been in the industry for a very long time. And then we have Rudy Smith, who is our security specialist. He has got so much knowledge that most of us don't understand. We're very grateful to have him with us here today. Also, from our side, we would like to keep this as interactive as possible. So please put your hand up, ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. So starting off today, Naz, just from your side, how do you feel that the COVID pandemic has forced us to work from home and now affecting the modern data center?
Yeah, thanks, Claire. Good morning, guys, and thanks for joining us on this on another edition of FD's Tech Talk. We do appreciate your time. So that's a good question. I think, the topic for today is very relevant, I think, to most of us on this call, and with what's happened over the past 2 years. If you look at the definition of a mobile workforce, it's a group of employees that aren't bound by a physical location, right? Instead, it's employees that are connected by various types of mobile technology, be it computers, smartphones, mobile devices. Because the technologies that enable the mobile workforce are mostly portable, I think it brings a lot of challenges to any organization, right? And I think today we'll discuss some of the pros and the cons, around the mobile workforce and what it takes to enable a mobile workforce to work more productively. If we look at, what is the objective of a mobile workforce? I think, again, it's to make employees more productive outside of the office as if they were working in it, right? With the mobile workforce, I think employees should be able to remotely access, these software applications and data as they would in a company's HQ. But again, this brings a lot of challenges. One of the main challenges, in my opinion, and I think we've seen it, becoming more prevalent now, is obviously security. I think you've now got, hundreds and in some instances thousands of employees who are inside your network and are now on the outside, trying to access important data. I think as we go along in this tech talk, my colleague Rudy will cover a lot, from a security aspect, in terms of the pros and cons and what you should be doing to get to the right security posture. All right. So coming back to the mobile workforce, what is the importance of having a mobile workforce? I think a big driver behind this is what's happened to us in the past 2 years, with this, it seems like it's now a never-ending COVID pandemic, and let's hope that's not the case. But yeah, it suddenly forced IT managers to think out the box and do it very quickly. All right. In the space of a couple of months, you had employees again who were predominantly in the office, now working from outside and accessing, and IT managers had to think fast, right? From an infrastructure point of view, they had to think fast to enable these employees and enable the data center to work more efficiently. And it's a major challenge in today's organization. So if we look at some of the contributors to the mobile workforce, again, it's something that I think comes up a lot in everyday discussion. I think it's the productivity of employees and of your data center, right? It's a big talking point. In my opinion, I think productivity does increase when you're working from home. Look, let's not let's not make a mistake. I mean, you're going to get those rogue elements, right, in your organization that maybe don't follow protocol. But I think, you know, that's the lower percentage of an organization. You know, I see we sort of, you know, traverse this boundary of, you know, working from home and being in the office with the mobile workforce. I think individuals are more productive because now they have access to data 24/7, you know, which improves, I think, customer service from an internal perspective and externally. I mean, we have different lines of business. I mean, we know in our organization, you know, we have shared services, right, at the back end. And I think if you give these individuals access to data 24/7.
Jy moet minder toiletpapier gebruik, my lief.
Sorry, we caught you when you're in the toilet there. To apologize. Mute, Claire.
I'm checking, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
It looks like everyone's
Okay.
on mute.
All right. Where were we? Okay, productivity.
Yes, productivity.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, again, a challenge, but I think, in my opinion, productivity has improved. And, you know, maybe guys can share comments at the end of the session as well. I think productivity, from my perspective, has definitely improved from working from home. Yes, there's the element of distraction, but I mean, you know, your working times have changed. I mean, you can now start work at 6 o'clock, right? You can now end work at 10 o'clock, you know, with no restrictions. And you can sort of balance it out, right? You know, where it fits best for you to work. I think that's a major benefit. You know, the other aspect is obviously when it comes to cost, right? You know, there's the hard cost of, you know, maintaining a data center, which organizations can now look to move to some sort of hybrid cloud infrastructure, you know, which gives you the flexibility and the agility of moving that office employees into a mobile workforce. Then there's also the soft costs that I think, you know, the CFOs look at, right? I mean, real estate cost. It's a big thing now with, if you look at some of the banks that have now, you know, sort of adopted the mobile workforce as a standard. If you look at how much they'll save by not operating those huge buildings, you know, it's millions actually. So there's definitely a cost element to it. And then there's the whole aspect of business continuity. All right. I mean, you know, from an employee perspective, if you need to adopt a mobile workforce, you need to give them that user experience. All right. It has to be the same as if they were working in an office, or you're gonna get a disgruntled employee who's not going to be productive. So companies have to adopt this whole business continuity strategy where data is available 24/7. Whether that's whether that's part of a hybrid cloud sort of infrastructure, then so be it. I mean, we all understand the challenges that we have, you know, with Eskom, et cetera. So the public cloud is available, you know, to adopt sort of hybrid. So if you have challenges, you sort of, you know, spin between either the public or hybrid. And I think lastly, what I want to touch on is, you know, and this doesn't relate to the data center so much, but it comes back to the whole aspect of productivity, right? It's a soft issue, but I think, you know, to have a productive employee, he has to be a happy employee, right? And I think we all understand the challenges with the daily commute to work in Johannesburg. So if you know, by working from home, I think you negate all of these, you know, stressful incidents in life that can, you know, create a much more happier and productive employee, but also brings a healthy work balance, right? Work-life balance, sorry. And again, translates to a productive employee. The other thing, I mean, if you look at, in terms of attracting talent, I mean, a lot of people actually enjoy the mobile workforce. They enjoy working from home. So I think with that, you can attract a lot more talent as an organization, right? So those are some of the soft benefits that apply. So I think we've discussed the importance, of the mobile workforce in terms of, at a high level, some of the challenges and some of the benefits. But obviously, to establish a mobile workforce, organizations have to keep, abreast of emerging trends and technologies. There's no way in an organization or in a data center where you can have, applications that are 4 revisions back in terms of updates and still expect to adopt, mobile technology and enforce a mobile workforce. So things like that need to be addressed. And as I said, I think the past 2 years have definitely taught us a lot in terms of where we are and where we should be in terms of the data center and enabling the workforce. But my colleagues Ryan and Rudy, I think they'll cover a lot from the cloud perspective and from the security aspect, and it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Naz. Rudy, from your side, with so many people working from home, what do you think organizations need to do to input? What network security do they need to put in place?
Right, thanks, Claire, and welcome to all the attendees joining today. Right, so to answer your question on that one, firstly, any organization should have a perimeter firewall in place at their head office. So with firewall in place, you can prevent any unauthorized connections and malicious software from entering the network. So essentially, the firewall will monitor any incoming or outgoing connections. And should an attacker now from an external network connect on your network, the firewall will drop this traffic based upon defined cybersecurity rules. So even though some users are working from home, you still need to protect your company's internal network from unauthorized connections and malicious software. Also, with a firewall in place at head office, you can configure client-to-site VPN access for those users working from home to allow them access securely to company resources. So essentially what you'll need is a VPN to connect to the company's internal resources and security and network to those resources actually. So you're going to need some form of a VPN connection to actually connect to your office. So either you're using SASE or a VPN on a XG firewall or a Fortinet firewall, depending on what product you select actually.
Okay. No, thank you, Rudy. Ryan, from a cloud perspective, do you think that the cloud has played a role in mobilizing users and businesses in the past 2 years?
Thanks, Claire, and welcome all attendees. If you look at how the data center's been designed in the past, I mean, generally the kit's purchased for 3 to 5 years, and it's generally purchased for like a set requirement, So what happens if those requirements suddenly change? What happens if your company grows bigger than what you anticipated when you purchased the kit in the first place? What do you do then? You might be left with no room to maneuver. So you can't really adjust things, and I think some IT admins probably just make do with the kit that they have. They maybe wait till the next purchasing cycle and try and service the business as best as they can. If you take the cloud into consideration, you don't have to commit to all of those things up front. You sort of provision what you need right now, and you can adjust as the business adjusts or as the business changes and so on. You can scale your resources up and down almost on demand. And there's also the flexibility of you don't have to commit to any of these things. So I think in that point, cloud is a good option.
Okay.
And obviously some of these cloud vendors, they obviously they give you great discounts if you do commit to using their resources for a year or so. So I think the cloud definitely gives you great flexibility and agility. And I think it's probably something that needs to be explored by all businesses. I think at least if they're not going to use it, at least look into it. It might add some good value to their business. Okay. If you look at from like a user's perspective, the users being able to access the application anyway, be able to see the same information. They might be able to use different devices to access the same information and the same application, and also from random locations. So I think that also could add to a good user experience. And I think if the users are having a good experience, they might be a lot more productive, as Naz was saying. But obviously, having users connect from all sorts of places, obviously gives the IT admin a bit of a headache, or could potentially give them a bit of a headache, and obviously business as well from a security point of view and so on. If you take like desktop as a service, for example, IT admins can use this function or this service to centrally manage the desktop infrastructure, and I think it gives the business a lot of flexibility, and not just flexibility in infrastructure. I think flexibility in cost as well. So I think, if you like desktop as a service, for example, most of them are probably like a monthly billing per image or per service or per hour. So, I mean, most users are only accessing the information for 7 to 8 to 9 hours or so. So, I mean, you don't have to pay for that empty space in between until the next morning. Also from like a business continuity standpoint, I mean, if you can design these services in different regions, it creates a more highly available service. So I think, the users generally want, how can I say, that, the connectivity will be maintained. So it's like the uptime will be maintained. So yeah, definitely, I think cloud is definitely something to have a look at.
So you agree that in the next few years we could possibly see a lot more services like desktop as a service and service providers offering those in the future?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think probably not all of them will use it extensively or fully, but I think there's definitely a case where maybe 50% of the workforce will probably use a service like that. So okay. I think so, yeah.
So Naz, back to you. If the unfortunate job of the IT manager, what do you think he has to do to enable these users going forward? And it must be quite a challenge. Sorry, excuse me, Naz, you're on mute. Just Naz, you're on...
There we go. Is it better? Sorry. Yeah. So I was going to say we should rather get Alfred from our organization to do the session, but it's fine. Let me give it a best shot on his behalf here. Look, I think it's always a challenge, to create this whole digital workplace that enables employees to work collaboratively and with the right level of security posture, as I say. So it's definitely a massive challenge, because of the access control and all that stuff with regards to devices. But I think there's technologies out there that can assist, and these technologies have fast forwarded in the past 2 years, to be able to provide that service to an organization that wants to adopt the mobile workforce 100%. But if you come back to the IT manager, right, in an enterprise organization, I mean, what do they need to? So firstly, technology is out there. So obviously, from an infrastructure perspective, you need to adopt technologies that makes it friendly for the mobile workforce. And then from a user, so you need to cater for your users in terms of the devices that they use, and to make this whole journey to a mobile workforce much easier. From a user experience perspective. And again, obviously, it's not easy to adopt these on-premise technologies. So technologies at the switch of a button, it will take time, right? I mean, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got legacy infrastructure and legacy applications, you're not going to adopt mobility, just like that. But again, there's technologies out there. I mean, the cloud, the public cloud, can offer a lot. So there's steps to the journey, and it's out there to help our IT manager. The other thing is, to provide employees with cloud workspaces, right? Is what Ryan was mentioning in terms of desktop as a service. But these workspaces need to access, critical applications and data securely. So, in my opinion, desktop as a service would be the correct solution for that. But again, it comes with the additional cost element, right? And whether companies have budgeted for this 2 years ago, I mean, who knows? So, you have to find that balance again, all right? Then there's obviously, to get the right tools in place for employees to work collaboratively, and we know there's lots of tools out there. There's lots of social collaborative tools. Again, there's virtual desktop that can assist. There's file sharing tools, and then team rooms and chat video. From the soft aspect, I think that's so important. I mean, the working from home element has taken away that conversation that you'd have at the water cooler or when you make coffee. How do you get that back? You have to use these social collaborative tools, and I think that also assists a lot of line managers in terms of keeping that relationship with their employees, right? Because communication is also very key. So social collaborative tools, I think that needs to be implemented. And what I spoke about earlier in terms of data availability and uptime, I think the user experience is very important. And obviously, data has to be available all the time for an employee or for an organization, because if it's not, you lose money. I mean, it's simple, right? So, keeping mission critical systems running in a hybrid cloud environment, having some on-prem and moving some of the technology that's less important into like a hybrid cloud. So employees are able to work, be it at home or be it at the office and have the same user experience. And lastly, I think security. I mean, I think it's a major challenge. I mean, the ransomware guys work overtime, right? I think they work more than employees in any organization. So, you want to eliminate that risk, right? You want to be able to share that data securely in your organization and outside of your organization. When I say share that data, I mean, you want to keep mobile devices under strict security as well. So I think those are if for the time we have today, I think those are the key elements that I think in terms of a strategy when you're trying to enable a mobile workforce.
Okay. Ruby, maybe just a question for you.
Yep.
If I can say, as a user, I expect that my company is looking after the infrastructure and securing the infrastructure. What sort of suggestions do you have for users like me to sort of protect their workstations from home?
Right, thanks, Les. So to answer that one for you, basically all users should have some kind of an antivirus encryption solution on their devices at home. So most antivirus solutions provide layers of security. So even though an attacker could breach your network, we still need to break through all those layers of security to actually get onto your network. So to give you more context here, most antivirus solutions include a threat protection policy. So that will block malware and ransomware and other threats as well. And on top of this, these antivirus solutions include web filtering, application control, and peripheral control, meaning it will allow you to block malicious websites and applications, as well as the use of removable storage devices and other peripherals. It's also recommended to encrypt users' devices whenever possible. So in the event they get lost or stolen, you can remotely wipe or lock that specific device. Scan and email is also very important. This is another topic that applies regardless whether a user is working 100% from home or 100% from the office, or a combination of the two. However, it's worth mentioning. As with more people working from home, there is a big increase in emails as people can no longer just walk over to their colleagues to speak to them. So in a recent cybersecurity survey with 3,100 IT managers in 12 countries, email was the way that 33% of attacks got into organizations' networks, whereby users might have clicked on a malicious link or malicious attachments. So when a user in the office may have many mitigations in place to stop from clicking on these malicious links or attachments, they will still be able to, they're still going to access those phishing emails, and they're still going to basically get those threats on their network. So therefore, you need to ensure that your current email solution is up to date and inbound and outbound emails are actually being scanned for malicious threats. So essentially what you'll need is you'll need an antivirus solution to secure your machines from malicious threats and an encryption solution to remotely wipe and lock those specific devices. Email protection is also very important as organizations need to scan inbound and outbound emails for malicious activity.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any questions for what I discussed now.
Does anyone have any questions at the moment that they would like to ask? Please type them into the chat box. Okay, well, there doesn't seem to be anything for now, but please,
Right.
as we said earlier, please, if you have any questions, please ask. So Ryan, here's a question for you. Is that, do you think that if COVID had hit 5 years ago, do you think we would have adjusted as well as we have?
I think so. Thanks, Claire. I think so, yeah. I think the working from home scenario has forced us all to adjust, and it obviously has affected collaboration between staff. But like everything else, we just have to adjust to it. So I think the use of collaboration tools has definitely changed the way we communicate. And I think it has gone a long way to fill the gap of face-to-face communication. And for me, I think using these tools, one of the benefits that I found is it's given me back time. So obviously, we don't have to commute anymore. So you have all that time back. And I think also if you look at all the influx of meeting requests and webinars that we've been facing over the last year and a half, I mean, I'm sure it will take weeks. Yeah, I think it will take weeks to get through that if we were all just based in the office, 8 to 5.
We wouldn't have managed to
squeeze everything in,
Yeah.
So like the time aspect, I think, has been a good benefit, and also one of the other benefits of not having to travel between meetings to the office is the cost savings that no traveling has given us. So I think one of the other things also is that those collaboration tools like Teams, for instance, that we're using now, it allows users to work in a more comfortable space. And I think if users feel a bit more comfortable, they probably tend to be a bit more productive, I think. So yeah, I think these tools are great. I mean, if you look at also what Naz touched on earlier on, an employee productive point of view, there are lots of tools out there, but can you measure all employees with the same mouse click? I suppose that's something that needs to be explored. But yeah, I think without the mature cloud, definitely, I think collaboration would have succeeded. I think it has succeeded. I mean, not everyone is using the cloud, so I think definitely, there obviously would have been an impact, but I think definitely it has succeeded. Yeah.
Okay. And then Rudy, from your side, do you possibly have some tips for us from working from home to secure our technology?
Yes, most certainly, Claire. So first, users should use complex passwords or multi-factor authentication where possible and change these passwords frequently. Use different strong passwords on every account and device. This will severely limit hackers' ability to access multiple accounts. Update all your devices, applications, and operating systems and keep them up to date on a weekly basis. As well as users should be securing their home Wi-Fi routers by using the latest firmware and changing the default passwords to secure complex passwords. So with weak, insecure passwords, you make it easy for people to access your Wi-Fi actually. Also ensure all devices are encrypted. And lastly, what I talked about, make sure you use the company's VPN application when accessing company resources. Or you can use a SASE application in the cloud to actually access those company resources as well, depending if you're using on-prem or a cloud solution. Right, that's it from my side. I don't know if we have any questions in the chat box at this point.
There's anyone, do we have any questions? No more questions. A question from my side, because I know over over the past 2 years. It's probably because I'm more in a technical role. So as long as I have a laptop and an internet connection, I can generally quite thoroughly do my job. But do you think most people have enjoyed working from home and the flexibility, or do you think that there are people that prefer working office bound?
I think some of the guys are actually preferring it working from home because they don't have that delay, being stuck in traffic. They have more time to be productive from home. I guess some people are more productive in the office, depending on how your workflow is, I guess.
Okay. No, because I'm sure for teams such as procurement, the complexity from working from home makes it far more difficult.
Yeah, I think it's probably in what department you are and what kind of work you're doing.
But I think that's the utopia, right? I mean,
Yeah.
That's what every organization is trying to get to, that point where it shouldn't be difficult for an employee of any division within an organization to work from home. That everything should be made a lot easier and simplistic, so the user experience is the same, right? Because again, it comes back to the productivity element. A happy employee is a productive employee, right? So the tools should be put in place so everything works perfectly. And again, as I said, it's not going to happen at a switch of it. It might take time, but organizations will get there eventually because the technologies are definitely out there today. Look, it's sorry, Claire. You want to say?
No, I was just going to say, I might have a question. It says that users are not trained to update routers and install antivirus. How would we address that? It's an interesting question.
Right. Well, if you have a router at home, usually you can just actually go into Google that router and see what is the default config, like the username and the default password. Also, in the bottom of the Wi-Fi router of your home router, you should actually see a password that's usually the default password, and you can change that. And with regards to your antivirus solution, you're going to have to pick a solution which obviously includes ransomware protection and malware protection, and your web filtering and all those specific protection modules in your antivirus to actually have a safe antivirus to block all those malicious threats.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest point there, Rudy, right? Because I think the question was more based that if the user doesn't have the knowledge, I don't know, for example, to address the public side of a router, what can you do internally from a security aspect, to maintain that security posture? And I think the organization has to cover a lot of that aspects of security.
Yeah,
right?
or the ISP who actually installed the router for him can also assist him with, setting it up and things. So usually, like for instance, Afrihost, it's just one ISP I'm working with. They actually log onto the routers and they would set up everything for you. A lot of guys don't actually have that technical experience to set it up. So, but that being said, it's fairly easy to set it up. You just provide your PPOE username and password, and there you go.
Okay. We do have a comment, and it's that most sorry.
There's a couple of
we're getting a couple of comments coming through. It said most routers have an auto update feature. Most of them are just sort of you just click and it updates.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
And we've also got a question from an endpoint protector. Wouldn't it be advisable that the company rather manage the endpoint solution rather than the specific user, being that they need to set up policies, etc.?
Yeah.
Yeah, the company should be managing it actually. So for instance, I'm not going to mention any products, but like most antivirus products have like a console. So where you can set up like your endpoint protection, server protection, email. So it's all in like a bundle basically. So everything is loaded on your antivirus product on your machine, and that's then linked to that console. And yeah, you'll be protected, but it's recommended that your company manage it, because if users doesn't know how to, down threats and things like that, it's pointless even having it. So it will block it, but you're not going to know about it spreading to any other machines on the network or,
Okay. Then we've heard also, it's a challenge for some users regards to internet connectivity. While most users have fiber, some users do not have it, and that forces them to go into the office. Do you think do you think offices should still be available and allowing users to go in, because not all of us are lucky to have all the infrastructure in place to work from home?
Yeah. Agree. I mean, look,
I want to get that one.
Ryan, you okay? Carry on, Ryan, sorry. Yeah.
I can take
No,
that
I
one
think
if you.
most companies are try to keep the office open for those staff that obviously, you know, they don't have fiber at home, and that obviously they need the internet to connect to the applications and so on. So I think companies obviously needs to make provision for that, whether they invest in the tools to enable those staff to work from home, or, you know, unfortunately, you know, the staff is going to have to come into the office to get their job done.
Okay.
So I think every company will have to make that call.
Yeah.
In the situation that they find themselves in, I think.
Unfortunately, you know, we live in a country where not everything's, you know, we're challenged by certain things, right? And I think internet connectivity is definitely a big challenge, right? We normally don't get what we pay for. I'm sure you guys know that, right? So the hybrid model, I think, will still cease to exist, you know, until certain issues that are outside of our control is fixed, right? So unfortunately, we will still adopt that hybrid model in certain instances. Yeah.
Rudy, I seem to be getting a lot more questions. I'm sort of from a security perspective, but also here was a question that I was given is, what's your take on password manager tools? Does it make it easier, or is there added risk?
Right, I do think it actually makes it easier because for instance, I'm just going to mention one. So LastPass, you guys can use that. Actually, I'm using it. What it will allow you to do is save all your, for instance, you have like maybe 10 firewalls and those passwords need to be secure. It will save it securely on your browser, and you don't need to go and type that password or username every time in. It's going to basically automatically put it in so you access that firewall externally from your browser. So any password, even email passwords like your Gmail passwords or anything like that. So it's good to have it.
And then a question, a remote workforce deprives employees the ability to just walk up to IT when they're experiencing technical difficulties, which affects productivities. How should we deal with that? How would people deal with that? Do you think companies should start looking at more call centers for technical support?
No, well, it's subjective, right? I mean, that's why we have these collaborative tools, right? I mean, I can still call Alfred on Teams and still look at him and say, we have a problem here, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to walking to him in the office. So the same user experience is available if you had to use collaborative tools. But I hear what that comment's about. It's the interaction, right? Where you could get things done quickly if you go speak to someone as opposed to. But I think, you know, organizations have put systems in place, right, to address IT issues. You know, like a ticketing system where everything gets done in an orderly manner and everything will eventually get looked at. So I think there's systems in place that can address that, but I do understand the whole face-to-face interaction and getting things done quicker. I think over time, service levels will improve by using tools, and hopefully it'll eliminate those issues, right?
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments and looking for some questions. So from an internal perspective, we have a remote access solution, which where we're lucky to have that. Some of our external people on the call might not be as lucky, or maybe they have even a better solution. And I'm just checking. Is there any other questions for the day? Because we're almost out of time, so I just want to check if there's any questions.
I think there's I can see some comments around security, around endpoint. Yeah, around endpoint security. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a comment. So it would be better to advise companies to have an endpoint security solution, which is a better solution compared to just antivirus, which I think I agree with that comment. Anyone else on that comment?
Rudy, I don't know if you want to, what is that again?
So it's better to have an antivirus solution. Can you just quickly read that question again, Claire?
So So it would be better to advise companies to have an endpoint security solution. Sorry, it's jumping. Which is a better solution just to an antivirus.
Yeah, because the endpoint security solution is going to actually provide you with more security features, like, you know, you get web filtering, you get application control, you get peripheral control, you get your threat protection. Whereby antivirus, most antivirus solutions, just that solution is maybe just going to provide you with a threat protection policy. So that's just one layer of security.
Yeah.
So
you're covering more, right? With
yeah, you're covering more. So you have different layers of security. So maybe a hacker is going to come onto your network, and you know, he might get onto your machine, but now he's dropping a PowerShell script on your machine. Now you have application control in place that will then block those. If you block PowerShell scripts, it will block it from happening. So that's additional layer of security. So depending on what the attacker is trying to do on your network, basically.
Okay. Then we've got most endpoint protection solutions allow integration with MMM tools. Sorry, RMM tools. This allows end users emails or to call the IT support, and then IT can RM into devices directly.
Yeah, so that's probably SolarWinds. So I've also used SolarWinds before. So you can actually set up, for instance, you have a small company of 20 users, you want to remote desktop onto all those machines, you can just log on to SolarWinds and access that machine anytime, or any of those machines that got SolarWinds, the agent installed on them.
Okay.
So it is a good thing if you want to access people's machines, you don't need to call them, or, you know, you're just going to be able to log in. And you can also monitor like CPU usage and other things on that specific machine with SolarWinds.
Okay. And then just another comment. Most of our leading endpoint solutions are moving to the cloud, which is making easier management of policies. So from Ryan and Rudy, what do you think of that? Do you think more people will start adopting these cloud security solutions?
I guess if you have an antivirus product sitting in a cloud, it's better than sitting, you know, having a server at the office, because if something happens to that office, your on-prem server, you know, your endpoint's not going to be able to communicate back to that server and, you know, do pattern updates for new threats released and things like that. So the cloud portion should always actually be online, just from my point of view. So I don't know if you want to mention something there, Ryan.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Rudy. I think that the HA capability of the cloud, I think probably better to have it in there than to stick it in some room in the building.
That's it.
100%. And I think the cloud also gives you the flexibility in terms of adoption, right? And time to market. You know, you look at trying to adopt these technologies on-prem and all the back-end stuff that needs to be in place to do it, where on a cloud platform, on a public cloud platform, it's readily available, right? And I think that's the biggest draw point, right? Especially if you have to move quick, if you move forward quickly, right? So yeah.
Any more questions in the chat? There, I see that there are a few comments. And from the panel, are there any other questions that you would possibly like to ask your colleagues?
No, not right, but I think we're running out of time. But I think you got. I think on the invite there was some email details. So if anybody on the call or has any comments or needs any information on anything, please. So feel free to use the email address to send us a question, and we'll look at it definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you to everyone who joined. We had quite a big group of people, which we really do appreciate, but please let us know, have any comments, any questions, please send them across to us. And thank you very much for spending your time with us this morning, and keep well and keep safe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Yes. Bye.